Action series have been a gateway into anime for the longest time, sparking the interest of new fans through thrilling confrontations. Action anime is a very broad category, so even if all you're seeking from your Japanese cartoons are exciting fights, there's room for very diverse titles.
超越した攻撃は容易に敵の肉体の動きを追い越した。一体これはどういうことだ?
To help out newcomers taking their first steps after that, or simply people seeking new exhilarating adventures, we've put together a list of other excellent action anime you can go and watch right now. So welcome back to Animeology, and today we will show you the top 10 best action anime of all time that you need to see. Before we begin, be sure to drop a like and subscribe down below for more anime top 10s, and without further ado, let's get right into the video. Number 10, Mob Psycho 100. Although its sibling series One Punch Man receives a bit more attention, as its irreverent attitude and ridiculously grand action caught the attention of countless fans, Mob Psycho's heart ultimately gives it the edge. Shigeo Mob Kageyama is an awkward yet kind teen who forces himself to keep his emotions in check, as his tremendous psychic powers are unleashed when his emotions peak. Shigeo's character arc is compelling, but the true star of the series might be his mentor, Reigen Arataka, a complete farce of an Esper, but at the same time, one of the most genuine parental figures in anime. And don't get us wrong, Mob Psycho 100 is also an astonishing action production, and quite the inventive one at that. The work of digital and traditional artists is intermingled with techniques as unusual as paint-on-glass animation, giving unique form to the feelings Mob unleashes. Mob Psycho is in all respects a one-of-a-kind series that you shouldn't miss. And be sure to check out the brand new second season. Number 9, One Punch Man.
私は深海の王、海の王。
Plenty of series get heralded as deconstructions of the superhero genre these days, but they tend to be gritty and dark, eschewing squeaky clean super stereotypes in favor of the seedy underbelly of heroism. While still spoofing the genre, One Punch Man goes in a completely different direction, posing the simple question: what if a superhero became so strong that he could defeat all of his enemies with a single punch? The series starts off with a normal dude named Saitama, who decides to undergo a ridiculous training regimen in order to become a superhero. He kind of overdoes it, becoming so powerful that his opponents pose no challenge whatsoever. And he gets bored, and goes bald, as a result. Now, supermarket sales are more important than supervillains. Younger heroes seeking mentors are just nuisances, and heroism is kind of just a bother. All of that being said, it's a funny, bonkers series that features plenty of action. Every once in a while, even Saitama has to take things seriously. Number 8, Cowboy Bebop.
Kind of woman that can kick my ass.
You can't get very deep into anime without coming across Cowboy Bebop at some point, and with good reason. Director Shinichiro Watanabe's most acclaimed work, Bebop, set in the year 2071, is a potpourri of sci-fi, western, and noir films, all tucked under a jazz soundtrack. The result is a masterpiece about the adventures of a ragtag crew of space drifters, effortlessly cool bounty hunter Spike, and his pragmatic partner, Jet. Femme fatale Faye, who also suffers from memory loss, and computer wonderkid, Ed, the show's main source of levity and comic relief. Though Cowboy Bebop mainly receives praise for its varied aesthetics, fully developed character arcs, and thematic punch, its action provides most of the thrill. Like everything else in this anime, the action scenes are an eclectic mix. Mesmerizing fistfights, grandiose shootouts, tense standoffs, and exhilarating spaceship battles. A series chock full of iconic moments, Cowboy Bebop will undoubtedly stick with you for a long time. Number 7, Hunter x Hunter 2011.
どこだ?
we're talking about narrative and thematically compelling action anime, the king might very well be Yoshihiro Togashi's Hunter x Hunter. While there's more directorial oomph to the 1999 incarnation, it's easier to recommend the cohesive vision and satisfying end of the 2011 version. For those of you still not acquainted with the series, Hunter x Hunter starts off with the young Gon Freaks, who is following his missing dad's path and taking a practical exam to become a hunter, which is a special title for adventurers of the world. What first appears to be an unassuming tale keeps growing in scale and ambition, eventually forming large arcs that tackle genre staples, like Hiro's lack of concern for their own well-being, while staying a very touching and entertaining narrative in its own right. The interconnected narrative threads spun from the massive cast prove that Togashi isn't just a conceptually interesting creator, he's a masterful storyteller as well. Hunter x Hunter's true potential takes a while to surface, but once it does, it'll stand a chance to become one of your favorites. Number 6. Samurai Champloo. Another Shinichiro Watanabe gem, Samurai Champloo features a similar format to Cowboy Bebop, but replaces guns with swords. After the tea house where Fu works gets trashed thanks to the antics of a vagrant Mugen and Ronin samurai Jin, she eventually forces the two to become her bodyguards as she searches for the samurai who smells of sunflowers. By weaving hip-hop culture into the fabric of the series, Watanabe created an anachronistic version of the Edo-era Japan, complete with graffiti, beatboxing, and a gripping soundtrack that coalesces with the free-flowing sword fights. Speaking of sword fights, the clashes in Samurai Champloo ooze style. Mugen's technique is like a freestyle, instinctive and unpolished, figuring it out with each hack of his sword. He also incorporates breakdancing and martial arts into his fighting. On the other hand, Jin's precise movements and slices makes him ruthlessly efficient, kind of what you'd expect to see from a true samurai. Though the characters and storytelling don't quite hit the same high notes as Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo is unique enough to stand out in this gigantic samurai subgenre. Number 5. Needless. This is a similarly colorful and hectic action piece, yet with a totally different flavor. Cruz Child is a bit of a cowardly child who recently lost his brave sister, a fellow member of a resistance group against the ruthless ruling mutants, which leads to his meeting with fighting priest Adam Blade. A normal series would make him a parental figure to learn from, but Needless is having none of that. Blade is violent, impulsive, and a questionable pervert who knows no morals, which sets the tone for an irreverent comedy that doubles up as a ridiculous action piece. The post-apocalyptic setting is inhabited by people with all sorts of dangerous powers, but even in the most grand-scale fights to the death, the show might randomly decide to destroy the fourth wall, or straight up forget the name of its supposed protagonist. If you want comedy with a side dish of fighting, and this particular brand of nonsense resonates with you, Needless might be exhilarating. Number 4. Gurren Lagann.
光に変える天上天下一気同心上限が
Gurren Lagann is set in a world where humanity is forced to live in underground colonies. In fact, society isn't even fully aware that the surface is the domain of the terrifying Spiral King and his robot-piloting crew of monsters. But the series' never-ending sense of escalation and dynamism, courtesy of director Hiroyuki Imaishi, allow it to reach the very ends of the universe, making Gurren Lagann stay true to its own message about humanity's endless possibilities. While it proudly showcases its many mecha anime influences, Gurren Lagann, which premiered over 12 years ago, has enough identity of its own to be considered a modern classic in the genre. Of course, it helps that the show is a vividly colorful animation feat, one where ludicrous fights give idiosyncratic artists the chance to imprint through rough line art and wild posing, an excellent argument that fluidity by itself isn't all that makes animation exciting. If that isn't enough, know that much of the same production team returned for Kill la Kill. Beware that it's a messier endeavor, arguably more ambitious, but also much less satisfying than the straightforward, yet perfectly constructed anti-oppression tale of Gurren Lagann. Number 3. Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion. Breakneck action sequences and political intrigue drive Code Geass, which is still a standout more than 10 years after it originally aired. The series takes place in a colonized Japan, now known as Area 11. Its plot hinges on high school student Lelouch Lamperouge, a former prince of the Britannian Empire who was exiled following the death of his mother. After being granted a mysterious power that allows him to compel anyone he makes eye contact with to do his bidding, Lelouch sets out on what feels like a one-man quest to reclaim Japan's independence and take down the Empire, manipulating everyone around him like political pieces on a chessboard. As the series continues, Japan's liberation takes a backseat to more supernatural plot points, like killing God, for example. But the series manages to tie it together with emotionally charged character relationships, particularly between Lelouch and his childhood friend, Sutsaku, the son of the last prime minister of Japan. While the mech fights are dazzling and the lighter, goofy school episodes are a nice distraction, Lelouch himself and his ethically dubious moral philosophy are the main attraction. Number 2. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Another modern behemoth, and for good reason. Countless fans had already gotten into anime thanks to the first adaptation of the manga, arguably more ambitious and shakier. But Brotherhood's truly complete tale makes for an even easier recommendation. The story of alchemist brothers Ed and Al, who learned about the world's equal exchange principle the harsh way, needs no introduction at this point. And neither does the fact that this is one of anime's most impressive long-running series. Its 64 episodes are packed with high-octane, polished action that its peers can't really match, giving appropriately striking form to its many iconic confrontations. If you want a production of a similar caliber, you might want to give a try to Soul Eater, another Studio Bones title that puts many of its ace action animators to good use, even if the show as a whole doesn't come together in equally satisfying fashion. And if your Full Metal Alchemist thirst can't be quenched with the long series alone, you might as well go watch its spin-off, Milo's Film, a simpler tale that lacks the well-constructed conspiracy and much of a theme altogether, but that succeeds through its wildly idiosyncratic action animation. And finally, at number 1, Katanagatari. Let's end this video with another non-standard spin on action anime that's becoming rarer and rarer to find. Author Nisio Isin is best known for the endless Monogatari franchise, which incidentally features a phenomenal action-packed arc in the form of the prequel Kitsumonogatari movies. But this focused, shorter-form tale is a very interesting prospect for everyone who seeks an action series that's all about the quirky interactions between the cast. Katanagatari is the tale of strategian Togami and martial artist Shishika in their quest to collect 12 special blades. It's also the story of changing times, as the Age of Swords is forced to come to an end with the eruption of guns in Edo-era Japan. The central relationship is as strong as the realization of its core themes, which means that it'll keep you entertained on some level as they endlessly talk to each other, the bread and butter of the series. This isn't to say the action sequences aren't thrilling, but the inclusion of the series in this list is more geared towards fans who might be considering pivoting towards more dialogue-heavy anime, all while keeping a strong side dish of action. Katanagatari is undoubtedly one of the best of its kind.
Perfect.